Welcome everybody. Hello. God bless you. I am Dr. Kathy Amos, and I am here for another wonderful Motivational Mondays in the marketplace at the chapel. And I'm going to talk to you today about something that I believe we as visionaries, we as business leaders, community leaders can really pull from this revelation. We're going to talk on the subject today about the peace of being in God's will, even when you're tired. The peace, just that word alone, of being in God's will, even when you're tired. So I'm speaking to every business leader, every community leader, every minister, pastor, marketplace leader out there who's working their vision, who has big dreams, who are believing God, and it seems like things are not working out at times. It seems like things are reverting the wrong direction instead of going in the direction that you know God told you to go in, and you're going in that direction. It seems like now things look like they're going the opposite direction. And sometimes that can make us weary. It can make us tired and just feeling like, I just want to give up. I'm tired. I need rest. Well, let me just assure you of a couple of things, and I'm not going to be on here long, but I got a few key points that I want to run by you. The first one is exhaustion does not always mean you miss God. Hello, somebody. Exhaustion does not always mean you miss God. So in leadership or in leadership culture, we often hear that if you're tired, you must be doing something wrong. But that's not always the way. That's not always the truth. That's not always kingdom. There are seasons where your obedience is going to require endurance. Your obedience is going to require you to be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. Why? Because your labor is not in vain. John chapter 19 verse 30 says, when Jesus had tasted it, he said, it is finished. Then he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. This statement right here, it is finished. It didn't come from a place of comfort. It came from a place of completion. And anytime I think of the work being completed, I also have to think of what I went through to get the work done. And so for many of us who are working on assignments, and I can just imagine Jesus in my mind carrying that old rugged cross, because that was his assignment. He was being whipped, he was being beat down, and he had very little help. One man, and I think we're going to talk about that, came alongside him to help him to bear that cross. But he was going to Calvary's cross to fulfill a mandate. And while we think that our situation and what we're dealing with in our businesses as community and governmental leaders, as educators, as pastors and ministers, as mom and dad, sometimes we can get into a place, let me not forget our doctors and our nurses. We can sometimes get in a place like, I'm tired. But this is a part of what you are called and created to do. And so think about Jesus, how exhausted he was, but he was yet pressing toward the mark for the prize of the high calling. And because of that, He endured the suffering of the cross. What am I saying? I'm saying that we have to endure the suffering of what it takes to run a successful business. We have to endure the suffering and everything that comes to it because we accepted the call, we were chosen, and we were commissioned to do what we're doing. With grateful hearts, with thankful hearts, we got to be willing to say, I'll go every step of the way, even if I'm tired, even if I am exhausted. Key point number 2. Spiritual rest is different from physical rest. Spiritual rest is different from physical rest. You can be physically tired and spiritually at rest at the same time. Can I say that again? You can be physically worn out, but spiritually you're at rest because you know that what you're doing is what you were called to do. The thing that gets us in trouble is when we allow our flesh and the exhaustion of the work that we have been called to do get intertwined, and then we don't see the spiritual aspect because we are spiritual beings. We don't see the spiritual aspect of what God is doing through us, and so we take it as I'm just spiritually, I'm exhausted. I'm just spiritually, I'm just tired. All of this, all of the things. And we miss the realization is that, but you're doing what God called you to do. You're doing the work that you were created, predestined, and ordained to do. And with that, you have to find rest even when you're tired. Because when you look at it with that perspective, what it does is it changes the way you look at the assignment. It changes the way you position yourself in doing the work. Your attitude is different, and your flesh can endure a lot more physically when your spirit man is aligned with God's perfect will and understanding that I'm at rest because I'm doing the Father's will. So in the book of Isaiah chapter 30, verse 15, it says, in quietness and confidence is your strength. In quietness and confidence is your strength. While you're working, and I'm sure that when Jesus was bearing his cross and carrying his cross to Calvary, he didn't have a whole lot of words to say. Because one of the things that he was is exhausted, but he was confident in his Father. And he understood that what I'm doing is my Father's will. I'm confident and I find strength in that. So what are we finding strength in? We're finding strength in the reality and the truth that says I'm doing my Father's will. Now notice that what this scripture doesn't say. It doesn't say strength comes from ease. It doesn't say that strength comes from being comfortable. Strength comes from confidence, and confidence comes from alignment. So the alignment that God is calling us to is this. Be confident in the Father's will and purpose for your life. Rest assured that when you're doing the assignment, that he's going to revive you. He's going to restore your physical body, and he's going to help you to continue to press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling. Hello, somebody. So when you're aligned with God's will, you may be tired, but you are not confused. When you're doing God's will, you may be tired, but the one thing that you know is that I'm doing what the Lord told me to do. You may be stretched, but you're not lost. You're just stretched. It's called the law of the rubber band. And in the law of the rubber band, John Maxwell talks about that law. he talks about how you can stretch. And what God really wants us to see in the stretching is the potential and the capacity that he's given us. And many times we lean into our physical ailment and all of the things that are quirking in our bodies, our mindset that tells us we're tired, and we miss the reality that I've got capacity. I'm anointed for this. God called me to this. I have been chosen and commissioned in this very area. Therefore, I won't rely upon how much work or how hard that work is, but I'll rely on the strength of my Father, and I'll rest in that. You may feel pressure, but you still have peace. And that's the good news of the gospel. That peace is your spiritual rest. That peace is going to be your spiritual rest. And while you're working, work with the peace of God. That peace that surpasses all understanding. Key point number 3. Alignment brings peace, not the absence of work. Peace comes from alignment. But it doesn't mean that I don't have to do the work. Many people are waiting for peace to come after the work ends. Hello, somebody. Who taught you that? Peace comes after the work ends. No, peace comes in the midst of the work. But often peace shows up while the work is still happening. In the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, it says, "So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up." Let's not be weary in our well-doing, because, look, if we endure, stop murmuring and complaining, stop looking at how much work you got to do, change your perspective, the harvest is coming. And the harvest, when the harvest comes, you're going to look back over all the work you've done and all the things that you've endured, and you're going to see the promises of God manifested in your life. Some of us are closer to the harvest than what we think. The peace you're feeling, even while you're tired, is God's reassurance that your labor matters and your obedience is seen. That's the good news of the gospel. So Motivational Mondays in the marketplace exist, and I just wanted to share this to you because I'm done. That's it. It exists so that leaders can come and be restored. Whether you're in business, whether you're in ministry, whether you are a community leader, a governmental leader, an educator, doctor, nurse, it doesn't matter what work you do. If you're in workforce development, if you are nonprofit, look, this place is for you. We want to invite you here at the chapel, downtown Jackson, 414 South State Street, Suite 201, where the Gathering Place Chapel is available for you, for those that are out there in the marketplace that can get here on your lunch break. It may be that you need to just come in from even the building that we're in and just sit in this beautiful space so that you can be revived, so that you can reflect and be restored. We want to give you that peace of mind here at the Gathering Place. That is all that I have for today. I thank you all for coming on, and we will see you next time on Motivational Mondays in the marketplace. Goodbye for now.